So hi everyone, my name is Joann and my project is called BWEE, which stands for Black Women Entrepreneurs Empowered. And it's not an organization yet, but that is the goal. And the reason it was created was to help and address systemic barriers that affect the growth of Black women who are entrepreneurs. So a little bit about me, I am a community manager who's very passionate about social media and the potential it has to help brands grow and succeed. I'm also very passionate about amplifying the voices of people who need it or who have been wronged by the prison system and who are wrongfully incarcerated. I also have a nonprofit organization where I focus on giving back to people who are houseless and who just need the necessities. I think that a lot of times when people give, they're just like, oh, here you go, here you go, here you go. Versus me, I personally go out and speak to people who are houseless. And I actually ask them like, hey, like, what do you need? How can I help? And if you've noticed, I'm using the word houseless instead of homeless, because when you use homeless, that means you're actually identifying the person as that. And just because I'm houseless doesn't mean like that's my identity. So about my project, the mission was to empower Black women entrepreneurs by addressing the systemic limitations they face in accessing capital and funding, and being able to provide support and inclusiveness to address the unique challenges and biases that continue to affect them and kind of like help hold them back in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So our focus today and our focus for my project was providing a nourished community to Black women who are entrepreneurs. So a little bit about our audience. Despite their potential success for just everything, I think Black women are just amazing. We unfortunately continue to be underrepresented and underserved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So examining a little bit about the history, I wanted to know more about the programs that are already in place to help Black women, why they were created, if they're even sustainable programs, how they succeeded, and even some things that they failed at, just so by doing that research, I could see like, okay, what can I do differently? What can I take from? What can I learn from? And also, what do they need? And what do they already have that's out there? So going into the design process, so for the ideation, we conducted a brainstorm session where we discussed the ways that we could begin to create impact for Black women who are entrepreneurs. And then so for some of the research that we did, I travel already for work. So I was traveling to New York, Portland, Chicago, and I met with a lot of different Black women in my city as well, which is St. Louis and other cities. And I was just talking to them about like how it is to be an entrepreneur, what they face, what they go through. We also did some research just virtually, like reading articles, looking at TED Talks, and just also looking at data and some numbers. I think numbers are really important. And unfortunately, when it comes to capital and funding, I think Black women don't I forgot the number, so I don't want to say because we're recording this, so I don't want it to be live and forever out there wrong information, but the number is just pretty sad. And then the different Black women that I talked to were teachers, content creators, hairstylists, fashion stylists, just anything, you name it. And then also we discussed the impact of equity and equality with different Black women and how they incorporate it into their businesses. And so some more research I did was, I keep saying we, this is definitely just a one-man project, but shout out to my team for all the support. But so some things that I did for research, I again talked to multiple Black women. I kind of just actually went out. I went to downtown, went to St. Charles, went to the county during Women's History Month, because I was thinking like, we don't consider the significance of Black History Month and what it means to Black women and how these factors might impact their entrepreneurial ventures. So I wanted to go and go and get that information and then kind of track it and report it and use it with my research. So for prototyping, so after considering the factors and systems, I wanted to conduct some qualitative research where I actually had live interviews, and I would like kind of record them, and then overall like make a video that I could share on socials. So I'm going to share a snippet of what I've been up to.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. The most unprotected person in America is the black woman. The most neglected person in America is the black woman.
Don't touch my hair.
As a Black entrepreneur, I've constantly had to experience being underestimated of my abilities and thoughts about whether I'm actually fit for an opportunity.
As a Black female entrepreneur, I've been truly blessed for the support that's been showed to me and my company.
Crown.
As an entrepreneur, I found it really hard to get people to support me.
As an entrepreneur who recently just opened up her clothing brand, I've faced various challenges.
I wear. They don't understand what it.
As a Black entrepreneur, I feel like we don't get enough credit for the things that we do.
As an entrepreneur, I definitely felt unsupported by my community.
They don't understand what it means to me.
As a Black woman who's an entrepreneur, I feel like it's very important to advocate for younger Black youth and Black women who are interested in being entrepreneurs.
Roll the ride, I gave it time, but this here.
The most disrespected.
A little more about the execution. So with our timeline, I decided.
The most disrespected person.
Okay, awesome. We got it. So with our timeline, I decided that I wanted to create an event that Black women would have the opportunity to network, receive startup checks, prizes, knowledge, community, and resources, because Black women deserve to have a more equitable and diverse entrepreneurial ecosystem. So some of the testing that we did, these are the flyers for a Zoom that we had. Basically, the Zoom was just to connect some Black women who are entrepreneurs and just, start creating that start creating that community within each other. And then some more testing that we did, and I wanted to read this quote. It says, "Some people think they're in community, but they're only in proximity. True community requires commitment and openness. It is a willingness to extend yourself to encounter and know the other." So I really like this. And what I did, since, the timeline of the program ends today, I just continue to interview Black women and continue to gather that qualitative research, because all it would do for me is help me be able to further support my mission statement and my goal, and to help them. So I actually ended up interviewing over 40 Black women, and you can kind of read some of the quotes in the back. I do want to read one that I just really, really like, just to give you some insight about some of the women that I was speaking to, and like the just good information and knowledge they shared with me and how vulnerable they were with me. So it says, someone said to me, "I grew up with acne, and that caused a lot of bullying, and it led me to have low self-confidence. I felt embarrassed about my skin, and I didn't like that, because your skin is something you wear every day. You should feel good about it and be happy when you're leaving the house. I started to wonder how many other Black women were in my shoes feeling this way, and that's when I began my journey of entrepreneurship." So key messages from Black women who are entrepreneurs. I know I just read one quote, but I also wanted to read another one that a Black woman had told me. And she said, "The playing field for Black women is not the same for other demographics. Other demographics receive more resources. Generationally, they're set up for success because they have most of the blueprint. Unfortunately, for the rest of us, we have to start from scratch." And before we move on, I think that's super important. And I feel like it just ties into Creative Reaction Lab and like what Internet is saying, like, unfortunately, we don't have the resources, and even something so simple, like it's not that easy for us, So, your favorite Black woman who has a shop, she may have shipping delayed. And most of the time everyone's like, "Well, I'm not going to support." Why? Like, why are you so quickly to not support her? But Target done messed up your order. Somebody done stole your Amazon, and you're still going to go back. So Black women don't have the same grace, and that's an issue. And because of the stereotypes, and because of the myth that we're these strong Black women that could just take anything and we're just a bulldozer to life, it really harms them. And that's why, I'm really focused on creating this community to help start those conversations, and to help them also with capital and just with whatever they need. So equality versus equity. I'm not going to talk too much about this because everyone has talked about this, but I think my favorite way of remembering this is there's a photo that has a stool. And I mean, the bike is the same thing, but and just seeing different people on the stool and how the stool can accommodate them, it's how you're just like, yeah, equality is not it. Like everyone needs something that's specifically designed to help them individually succeed. So what some Black women entrepreneurs said about equity versus equality, I want to read this quote because I actually want to read two of these. The first one is, attending a PWI, I realized that even though we all have the same opportunities, there are not many extra tools or resources given to people and students who need extra support. And I kind of want to touch on this because I actually went to an HBCU, and if you went to HBCU, you know that there's a lot of problems, and we do get on Twitter, we get online, and we talk a lot of stuff, but we do love them because we do understand that they're not receiving the same funding that most schools are, and most of the time they're private, So, I mean, they are trying their best, but I think, it's just, if I could choose again to go to HBCU, I'd still go to HBCU all over again, even though I encountered all those problems, because just being able to be in that community and be around people who look like me and want the best for me, I mean, you can't beat it, even if you have issues and all of that. And the next quote that I want to read is, often people would give Black women the same resource, which is equality, but this doesn't have a positive impact because each Black woman has specific needs based on their businesses, idea, and journey. So I really like that as well, because again, like kind of what I've been saying with my whole project, like you can't just like, oh, here you go, like, like sit down with the person, get to know them. That's kind of what I was doing, like sitting down with the different Black women, getting to know them, and then trying to incorporate into my research and my design, like, okay, what's the best way to help all of them collectively, and then to create this community that can be everlasting. And that is all. Thank you.